Okay guys, if you've got this the right way around, then you should have watched the landing at Bodmin first. Now this is again at Bodmin, same day, and as you can see, I'm at the holding point for runway 13, and I'm about to swing left, runway 21 that is, not 13, runway 21, about to swing left onto the runway. I've lost about 50 or 60 yards off the start of the runway, but then this airplane doesn't need that because it takes off and lands in very, very short distances indeed. It's what it was designed to do during the war. Take off and land, depending on the terrain, anywhere between 80 and 150 yards. There we are, there's the runway centre line, tail's already up, power's full on, and we're just about to leave the deck. There we are, we're just airborne now, holding the nose down to get speed for climb, and as you can see the boundary hedge is coming up now. I'm not going to climb very far on this one because I'm about to do a low and fast pass over the runway, because on this particular day it was a victory in Europe celebration, victory in Japan celebration day, and there are a lot of army reenactment vehicles and so on down by the clubhouse down there, and since I'm the only World War II aircraft to have arrived today, possibly because of the strong wind, then they've asked me to do a flyby. So anyway, what's coming up now, as you can see below, is the A30. Again, many of you will remember that. You've probably been stuck on it loads of times trying to get to Cornwall. It's the most dreadful road there is. But at this point, it's actually dual carriageway. And again, many of those that have used it will know that it goes from dual carriageway to single carriageway, dual carriageway to single carriageway, which does nothing but causes bottlenecks. But the Transport Ministry are now trying to sort out, okay, I'm starting a fairly tight right turn now with the nose hail work down. You can see the angle on the ground there. And we're now right over the top of the A30, so you can see how short a turn that was. And we're coming up to the edge of the runway, where I'll start another very tight turn and stick the nose right down to gain some speed for the flyby. There we go, we're at about 100 feet at the moment, nose straight down onto the deck. Pulling up now, there's the runway coming up, 13, top left of the picture there, look. Okay, now I fly along the runway. Sadly, you can't see the guys because they're all on the left-hand side. There we are, I'm about 3 or 4 feet above the runway now, doing about 120 miles an hour. And at the end, I'll do a zoom climb, there we go. Slight left turn, right turn to get me off the centre line of the runway, just in case anybody else wants to use it. So there we are. Okay, the small village coming up, where you can see the church there, is Cardinham, and the airfield at Bodmin is actually named after it, so its full name is Bodmin Airfield brackets Cardinham. Okay, once again you can see it's still a lovely day, still a strong crosswind though. Okay, we've now well departed from Bodmin, and that's Plymouth coming up, and over on the right hand side you can see the Saltash Bridge, both railway and road. And coming up is the southeast corner of Plymouth, and there, right below the nose right now, slowly appearing on the promontory there, is the old ammunition dump for the Royal Navy, which was extensively used during the Second World War and contained thousands upon thousands of high-energy, high-explosive shells. Okay, right over on the top right-hand side of the picture there, you can see Plymouth Sound and the coast. Okay, and this is residential Plymouth coming up. Okay, no prizes for this, but those of you that do follow these videos, have a look and see how quickly you can spot Plymouth Airfield, or Plymouth Airport as it once was, closed down now of course, but there is a movement afoot to try and resurrect it and get it back into use again. I domiciled my airplane there for about a month, 6 weeks, whilst my farm field had been laid to silage. Once the grass gets over about 9 inches long, it becomes extremely dangerous to fly in and out of it. So I move the airplane out when the farmer does that, and usually it takes about a month, 6 weeks before he cuts it and I can move back in again. Okay, anybody found Plymouth Airport yet? Oh well, stick with me, you'll find it in a minute. You can see by the breaks in the cloud that there's some spots in Plymouth there are under sunshine and some are under cloud. Anybody who's stayed there will know roughly where this airfield is anyway, especially if you've flown in and out to the Channel Islands, because it was extensively used for that. Also used to link to Heathrow. Well, I can see it clearly now. It's over on the right hand side, look, and it's just above the halfway line on the video there. Okay, you can see the black runway coming up now, or one of them, the main long runway. That's the one that the transport airlines used to use frequently. I was based there in 1960 when it was an all-grass airfield, and it was mainly used by the Navy with Tiger Moths for flight training. And Britannia Flight was actually based there. It was attached to the college at Dartmouth. And all those that were going to become naval pilots or observers or navigators, as the RAF would know it, would all have started their ab initio flying training there on the airfield right below us now. And they'd have done it in Tiger Moths. It was great fun. And because, of course, it's an L shape, all those houses you see around it, many of them weren't there then. It's all been well developed since then. And the industrial estate to the south of runway 27 there, that's all new. That's been put up in the last 20 years or so. And like I said, I made my first flight from there in 1960 with a Tiger Moth. Okay, now if you look again, top of the picture, slightly to the right hand side, you can see a white building with a large chimney, and that's the power station, the new gas-fired power station that replaced the old steam-driven one at Catterdown. Also to the left of that you can see some scraped out earthworks, and that's the new tungsten mine you might have heard about in the news. And it was started back in the 1890s when tungsten was a very not very well known element, if you like, or metal, and then many uses were found for it during the war for producing carbide tip tools and things for lathe turning equipment. And of course during the war that was essential, because naturally they were making ammunitions and things for our lads fighting overseas. Also to the left of that you can see the China clay works, and that's right at the very edge of the propeller there, the edge of the nose. And the white pieces, those are actually the China clay pits themselves. There are also some a little bit ahead of the nose and just under the top of the picture. Okay, the tungsten mine now is where you can see the air intake there on the right hand side for the engine. Well, we've just passed it. That was the tungsten mine. That's Ashbrington passing just out of the picture on the bottom right hand side, and that's the River Dart. And we're looking directly at Stoke Gabriel. Now what I'm going to do now is to swing round in a few minutes and line up with my dogleg field, which you might remember from previous videos, and land back in my field once again. But you can see how the River Dart, carved over centuries by ever-increasing amounts of water coming from Dartmoor. And yes, that's where the Dart starts, in Dartmoor. And it comes all the way down to the sea, and it's now created quite a big patch of water for itself. Now we're looking at Tuckenhay Creek, which is, again, if you've watched the previous videos, you'll know as a confluence or bifurcation, if you like, from the River Dart. It's self-navigable by rowing boats and motorboats and things, but the cruise boats, the Dart River cruise boats, don't go up there because the fairway is far too shallow for it. Okay, we're starting a right turn now. I've taken some of the power off. Nose is beginning to drop, as you can see. And we're making our way around to line up with my field. I'm a little bit low on this approach, and the reason for that is that the wind is so strong that I need to keep a little bit of power on and keep good control over the airplane. Okay, my dogleg field is coming up. I can see it, but I know you can't. You can see the way the wind is pushing me around. So there we are. That below the nose there on the edge of the river, the white building that you can see just by the air intake, is Keith Floyd's pub, or was Keith Floyd's pub. Many of you will remember him as a TV personality, and the pub was called the Maltsters Arms, and when Keith Floyd owned it, he renamed it Keith's, or Floyd's Inn, that was it, Floyd's Inn, and then brackets behind that in small letters, sometimes. quite a character. I met him quite a number of times because, like I said, my field is just over the top of his pub. So I used to call in there on the way back and have a pint on the way home. There's my dog leg, top left-hand side of the field now, black field to the left of it, and you can just see the dog leg. A little bit lower than I would have liked here now. I'm about 500 feet, and really for the distance that I am to my field, I should be around 700 feet. Sometimes these low-level approaches can be quite exciting, so it's a good thing to do to keep your hand in. And I have this wonderful field below me right now. If the engine did quit, I can always plop down into that, and the wind's so strong I'd stop well before I got to the hedge. Okay, a flat approach then, this one, which will give you some idea of how steep the field is. So you can see it's not flat, and I normally have to take off from the top, coming towards the bottom, and land from the bottom going up towards the top, no matter where the wind is. So sometimes I come screaming over the hedge at a rate of knots. Quite exciting. There we are, just about to touch down. A little bit of a late touchdown this one, but you can see the grass is quite long and it's uphill, so the airplane stops in no time at all as it's just done. Okay, turn left, my big tree. And there is my hangar. So it's about an 80-yard landing, or maybe just over. Well, I hope you've all enjoyed that. I'll try and produce something different for you next time. There's lots of different things that we can do in aviation, so I'll see you then. Take care.